Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Chasing Larger Sports Stories podcast. This is your host, Chase Steffes. Right now, Derek is having issues trying to get in to the podcast itself. Excuse my mic if it sounds horrible right now. I am trying to figure out any issues. I've got a new soundboard, so just bear with me on this. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and start off the podcast with how things are going. And we'll go into our first topic of the week. We'll go over any and all of the previous week's games, starting off with the Thursday night football game that we saw with the Broncos and Colts. Now, honestly, I think that was one of the most abysmal games that we had seen from a Thursday night performance in a long time. I mean, not a single team scored a touchdown on Thursday night. Not a single freaking touchdown was scored. Let that sink in. What does that tell you about how the state of these two teams are? Because you have the Broncos who put all of their faith and trust in Russell Wilson, and he's not playing to the player and the caliber that he was a couple years ago. And you also have Matt Ryan, who many considered as one of the better older quarterbacks in the league. He's not that far removed from his Super Bowl MVP season that he had, and he's also not that far removed from a, playoff team that he had with the Falcons. And he was playing really well, playing lights out, and playing better than anybody thought he would. And yet he comes to this team and he is looking absolutely horrendous. I mean, he's missing throws, going off target, can't get the simple checkdowns, can't read simple streaks coming across the field. Like, he did not look on his game at all. And with Russell Wilson, you can sit there and say all you want that, like, this guy is not as good, he's washed, whatever. Well, he did have a torn lat that we just found out this week. We found out that he had a torn lat muscle, and it is hard to play with the muscle like that. And he's had it since they played the Raiders, I believe, or maybe even the Seahawks. So it's very frustrating knowing that your star quarterback's had that kind of injury, and he's kind of been just pushing it off to the side. And for those of you saying that Russ is really washed, out of the 10 seasons that he was with Seattle, he had winning records with Seattle. He led them to the playoffs quite a few times with them, and his stats were unreal with that man. So, I think I'm going to chalk it up to learning a new offensive system, trying to learn the way of, like, how the coach wants things to be, and gonna try to just learn a new offense. I mean, he was with the same offense, same coach, same everything for the past 10 years. So learning a whole new system, a whole new scheme, a whole new offensive playbook is going to be tough by itself for the longest time. Why do you think the Raiders struggled last night? I mean, the Raiders, for some reason, look completely and utterly terrible. I mean, you had a team that had made the playoffs last year with the 10-7 record, ended up going to the wild card round and playing the Bengals, and was one play away from beating them and moving on. So it is very frustrating to know that teams out there like the Raiders and the Colts, who have great talent, are not winning and performing the way that they want. And the talent that the Broncos have, Russell was supposed to be that next level talent that takes them to the promised land and back to the Super Bowl, like everybody expected them to. Everybody expected Russ to jump in this division and take off and be the guy that was warranted, the praise and the hype that he was. Been to 2 Super Bowls, lost one, won one, and everybody wants to sit there and say it was the Legion of Boom. I honestly think Russ is just that good. Now, is he that good now? It's remained to be seen. So only time will tell, but that was the worst Thursday night football game that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm only 25, and I've seen quite a few Thursday night games. But going on to the early morning game with the Packers and Giants, Dude, I am telling you, the Giants are for real. The Giants are a team that I did not expect to take off and do good. Now, I'm in a pick'ems league with people from work where we pick teams and pick who we think is going to win each week. And I picked the Giants. Shockingly, I picked the Giants as an upset pick. And I was originally going to go with the Packers. And now looking at this, I look back at it as like, wow, I can't believe that I picked the Packers to win this or picked um the Giants to lose. Because if you look at how this team is, this Packers team is not built to win right now. They are not. They're not built to win. And the only reason why they probably will win games is because of Aaron Rodgers himself. Now, what that remains to be seen, I don't know. But this team is young. He had the same problem with Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams, it took him 2 years to develop the chemistry with Adams like he does with a lot of the guys now. I'd say, honestly, the guy that he has the best chemistry with is Romeo Doubs, the guy out of Nevada that they got in the third round. You know, that was a steal for the Packers. Christian Watson's not living up to the hype and the potential. Excuse me? The hype and the potential that everybody thought he would. Coming out of here, he could have been a late first round pick, and he was one of the better receivers. I mean, 6'4", 215 pounds, runs I think 4.3 40, one of the faster 40 times in the league that was recorded, and yet he still couldn't get the job done. So it's remained to be seen what the Packers have in store for them. But honestly, with the way that the Lions have been scoring points, with the way that the Vikings are playing, don't be shocked if the Packers come in second or even third place in that division by the end of the season. Now, honestly, the Lions have it rough. They got shut out this last game. But back to the Giants real quick before I go to the Lions. The Giants are 4-1 under Brian Daboll, a brand new head coach in this league, and a guy that was an offensive coordinator for one of the better quarterbacks in this league in Josh Allen. Now, mind you, that Brian Daboll also is coaching Daniel Jones. Now, people want to sit there and ask and say, is he going to have the same effect with Daniel Jones that he did with Josh Allen? Now, I can't sit here and say whether or not he will, but for the first 5 games of the season, it looks like he's making Daniel Jones look like a top 10 quarterback in this league. And is that too far to say? Too far of a stretch to say? I don't even know. At this point in time, it's not too far to say that the Giants are a good team. You know, you could sit there and say, well, who have they beaten? They lost to Dallas, and yeah, but they barely lost to Dallas. They didn't even lose by much to Dallas. And they were trying to get the ball going in the late games. So we'll have to wait and see. They still have to play the Eagles yet. I think another time. I think they already played them once, but I think that if they haven't, they still got to play the Eagles yet. But the Packers were a good team. They have a good defensive team, and the fact that the Giants have won because of that is unreal. Now, yes, you can sit there and say they put it all on the shoulders of Saquon Barkley, and yes, that may be the case, but regardless, he's still a Giant. He's still on the team, and he still makes plays. But Daniel Jones also is making good reads, making good decisions, not turning the ball over, and honestly putting up stats that, you know, are pretty good for what he does. So I'm going to give him the credit when credit's due. Now, the Packers, like I said, they could finish second or even third in their division. The Lions have a long road ahead of them. They were the highest scoring offense going into Sunday. They put up the most points in the league over any other team out there. The only problem is they can't stop anybody. They cannot stop a bloody nose or anything like that from getting worse. You know, with the way that the Lions have been scoring all their points, and they've just been giving up more, though. Like, you go back to the Seahawks game, they gave up 48 points to Geno Smith, and they scored 45 themselves. The same thing with the Eagles. They put up 45 on the Eagles, but they gave up 48. and they should have won against the Commanders. I think that was their only win, actually. And then they should have won against the Vikings, but the fact that they blew it in the end, it's their defense. Their defense is giving up a lot of points. Ben Johnson is calling a great game. Jared Goff didn't have his full flurry of weapons, and the Patriots made him look like he was a rookie again. They scored 0 points against the New England Patriots this past week. 0 points. And coming into that game, they were the highest scoring offense in the league. I'm telling you one thing. The Lions need to turn it around, and they need to turn it around now if they expect to start competing for this division and want to make it as a wild card team, because the NFC is so weak right now with the way that it is anybody's game. The former Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams are looking like one of the worst teams in the league right now. The NFC East, the division that we all clowned in the past and made fun of, the NFC least is now the NFC beast, because they are the best teams in the NFL. That's the best division in the NFL right now at the moment. And record-wise, it definitely outshoots anybody for terms of record. So, yeah, the NFC is a weak conference, and I think that we could see 3 teams out of the NFC East make the playoffs this year. So it's very, very interesting to see what's going to happen, to say the least. But another game that I want to recap is the freaking Cleveland Browns. 3 games in a row now, the Cleveland Browns have lost. They lost 1 game due to a blown coverage by the New York Jets. And because Cade York did not make an extra point earlier in the game, we lost by 1 point to the New York Jets. Would have went into overtime, probably could have won the game in overtime, but it should not have been that close. It should not have come down to that. We had a 2-touchdown lead in the final minute and something left. All we had to do was recover the onside kick. We take a knee. We win the game. We would be 2-0 heading into play the Steelers. We win against the Steelers. We're 3-0 heading into the Falcons. But now we're sitting at 2-3 because we cannot make a kick. We cannot stop anybody, and we cannot throw a pass to save our lives. Against the Jets, Jacoby Brissett had the chance to drive this team down the field with 40 seconds left on the clock and win the game. You had to cover 30 yards in 40 seconds. And what does this man do? Proceeds to throw an interception. Game over. Jets win. The next week, go against the Steelers on Thursday night. Obviously, we win against them. They are just a horrendous team at the moment. Then you go on and you sit there and you play against the Falcons, who, mind you, are not as good as everybody expects them to be, and everybody says that they are, but they do have a good running game. They've got up-and-coming weapons, and A.J. Terrell is that guy. A.J. Terrell shut down our best wide receiver in Amari Cooper, and the fact that Amari had only 2 catches for 9 yards is ridiculous. But, we were running the ball on the Falcons very well, doing a great job. And the same thing happened. We get the ball back at the end of the game. We're down by 3. We just need to get it 25 yards, and we win. We've been running the ball well all season. I don't know why we just didn't run the ball with Chubb and get a few yards, get the first down, throw the ball down, clock it, and then try to throw a couple passes towards the sideline up the field to get out of bounds and stop the clock. We had 30 seconds left, and what does this man do? Proceeds to throw another late game interception. If we have Deshaun Watson, we do not throw that interception, and we win that game. Point blank. And then now we go on to the Chargers. Our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, for the Cleveland Browns, needs to be fired now. Now. Because you go into that game against the Chargers, nobody expects the Cleveland Browns to win. And here we are sitting at a 2-2 record and trying to win this game to move on to 3-2. Well, what happened? What happens? We go up 14-0 on the Chargers. We're cruising along. But the problem is we could not stop a bloody nose to save our lives. We give up 17 unanswered points And the Chargers were dead last in running the ball, dead last in rushing. And yet we ended up making them look great. They were almost dead last in the league in terms of rushing and had not had a 100-yard rushing game since the early season last year. And yet we gave them their first 100-yard rusher of the season and more. Not even to just Austin Eckler, but to Joshua Kelly as well. That is embarrassing. The fact that we lost to Joshua Kelly and, ended up making it to where he is now looking good because of what we did. Like, it's insane. And then you go on to the next play. Jacoby Brissett throws an interception in the red zone and cost us the game right there. But not only that, Cade York, a guy who we drafted in the 4th round, was the only kicker drafted in this draft, and we expected him to take off and be the guy that we wanted him to be. We wanted him to be like that Evan McPherson, Justin Tucker type guy, and he was not that guy. He missed a kick right before halftime and then a kick at the end of the game that would have sealed the win for them, and it just went 6 inches to the right. Like, you're telling me that you made a mistake in the earlier in the game, the first part of the game, and you could not correct it and do the same thing? You missed wide right, like 2 feet to the right, and you couldn't make 2 feet to the left just to get it in? That's insane. Because of you, we lost that game, and everybody says you can't blame the kicker for stuff like that. It shouldn't have come down to it. That's the point, though. When it comes down to a kicker and it comes down to a game-winning field goal, their job in the NFL is to make kicks. What do you want them to do? Go out there and be like, oh, sorry, yeah, I can't kick the ball today because I'm not supposed to. No. As an NFL kicker, your job is to make NFL kicks. And yes, the game should not have come down to that. But if the game comes down to making an NFL kick, your kicker should make it. Point blank, period. But now we're sitting at 2-3 because Jacoby Brissett sucks. Joe Woods can't cover. And we gave up 274 yards rushing against the Chargers. 101 to Joshua Kelly and 174 to Austin Eckler. It's ridiculous. We should be 3-0, 4-0, or even 5-0. But obviously you can't tell. Derek, welcome in. How are you doing? How you doing, buddy? I saw that.
Chase.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You started the live.
Yeah, I just started the show right now. Was talking a little bit about like the recaps of the week and how things were going. So I was just I went and talked about the Thursday night game, talked about the game in London, and then talked about the Lions and how they went from having one of the higher scoring offenses in the league to being shut out by the Patriots. And then I just went on a long rant about how the Browns blew their chance to win another game and how I am extremely salty about that.
Yeah, I could imagine you being a little salty about that one. Would you believe me if I told you that I'm not happy with the fact that my team won that Thursday night game? I'm really not.
Look, a win's a win, man. I would take that.
A win's a win, yes, but they look so. I mean, the only difference is that for you guys, yeah, your defense has not been great at times, but at least like it's not been horrendous. But mine has been like historically bad.
30 points to the freaking Chargers. Like, dude,
yeah, the Chargers are good though. You act like as if them scoring 30 points is an anomaly. The Chargers are one of the top
275 yards rushing on the ground. The top
6 or 7 best teams in the league.
Right, but we gave up 275 yards rushing on the ground, and they had not had a 100-yard rusher since the beginning of last season. That's
Indianapolis
insane.
Punted more times in that game on Thursday than they've scored touchdowns all season, homie.
No, I understand.
We're trash.
There was not a single touchdown scored in that game. But, like, I'm just pissed about how our defense gave up so many points. And, yes, it's to the Chargers. I get they're a good team. but their blown coverages lost us the game against the Jets. Their poor defense cost us the game against the Falcons because they couldn't stop the run. Their freaking third and fourth string running backs to the Falcons had almost 100 yards rushing each. And then now you get the Chargers, who have not had a 100-yard rusher since the beginning of last year, had two of them, Austin Eckler and Josh Kelly, both. And then not to mention our freaking kicker missed 2 field goals, including the game winner at the end. Dude, I am so salty and pissed at how this week went.
Believe me, I know exactly how you feel, man. I I know how it is. It's hilarious for me specifically because my team is still only half a game out of first place in the AFC South. That's just how bad the AFC South is.
They are the worst division in football right now.
Yeah, we're clearly the worst division in football. And the fact that we're still half a game out, it's maddening. But yeah, my internet finally came back. So thank God.
Don't worry. I started off the podcast a little bit and I wasn't going to go through every game. I was just doing a few recaps on a few of the games, especially some that were important this week. One game I do want to talk about in particular is this Chiefs and Raiders game. Like, obviously, people were looking at it as going into this season, people were looking at Patrick Mahomes as like, does he really, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, because I got a janky soundboard that I got.
And you're getting a soundboard. I was going to say, you look like you got a new mic.
Well, it's the mic that I ended up getting when you were here with the draft, but I had the soundboard that came with it, but I was always trying to figure out how to use it. So, that's where this came into play. But I just wanted to know if you could hear me.
Yeah, you sound good.
Good. But no, like the Chiefs game, like everybody was talking about how Patrick Mahomes isn't gonna be the same. He doesn't have the same weapons now that Tyreek Hill's gone. But week after week, time after time, the past 5 weeks, he has proven why he's the best quarterback in the NFL and what he can do. Because not only did Travis Kelce have 4 touchdowns yesterday, he was tearing up that Raiders defense with Mecole Hardman, with Juju Smith-Schuster, with Jerick McKinnon, and with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And they are not winning in the typical fashion that the Chiefs normally would, where he throws like a 70-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. But like they're winning in typical fashion of like, I'm hitting my checkdowns. I'm getting the 20-yard passes down the field. I'm hitting mid-stride. I'm scrambling or rolling out and hitting people on a dime. Like that's the kind of play that we see from Patrick Mahomes that still shows in my mind why he's the best quarterback in the league. And yesterday proved it because, yeah, if the Raiders get that 2-point conversion, the Chiefs lose that game. But because of Patrick Mahomes being able to step up and make the plays that he did, they ended up winning that game. And the Raiders are now 1-5 or 1-4. And one of the other things that I want to talk about, and then I'll let you get your take on this. Devonta Adams, everybody. Devonta Adams has been known to be a very respectful guy in and out of the locker room, in the community for the Packers and the Raiders, and has done nothing but great things with, both organizations. And obviously, Devonta Adams is not having the start to the season that he expected with the Raiders, and he honestly expected to do a lot better. But the behavior that he portrayed at the end of the game yesterday was sickening, to say the least. Now, granted, the guy didn't get hurt because it was a harmless shove, but as a pro athlete, you have the spotlight on you at all times, and everything you do is under a microscope when you're out on that field. And the fact that he left the game and was walking in the tunnel, and the cameraman tried his best to get out of the way, but just also, take a video of him. Devontae shoves a cameraman out of the way and proceeds to keep walking and doesn't help him up, doesn't say sorry or do anything. Honestly, I don't care if you've lost the game. I don't care if you're pissed off. That is not behavior that you should be having for anybody that works either with, in, or for the organization.
Do you think you could potentially turn your volume up on your soundboard just a tad bit? Just a little bit. You sound okay. It's just wondering if you could turn it up just a tad bit.
Sound better now?
Maybe a little more.
Okay, maybe
it's just my computer. Maybe
it could be. It honestly could be.
It might just be. It might just be me. So, and that's fine. It's whatever.
But if you can't hear me, then
no, I can hear you fine. I'm probably losing my hearing as is. But anyway, going back to it sounds perfectly fine. I like to have it loud just so that way I can hear everybody clearly.
I can talk louder if you want.
No, you're good. Okay. I know you can talk louder, boy. You and I have had these conversations before. But just going off of that game last night, it's clear that the Kansas City Chiefs have not lost a step. Patrick Mahomes has not lost a step. Travis Kelce has not lost a step. I mean, Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns last night on 6 receptions. I mean,
for 25 yards.
Yeah, for like literally 35 yards. Like he didn't even get anything. He was simply a red zone target yesterday. And every single time they went to him, it was just like that. I mean, it just goes to show you Kansas City lost no steps when they were losing Tyreek Hill. Of course, being able to throw the long ball probably has changed a little bit, but the way they're able to dissect defenses still, and the fact that they're able to run the ball a little more effectively right now goes to show you exactly what it is. It's coaching. The way they're running their scheme, they're running things perfectly. And they're still the same team, man. They may not have the same top-end speed that they once did, but, man, they have all the talent in the world to make that work. And then when you go to the Raiders side of things, looking at the Devonta Adams incident yesterday, look, you and I talked about it last night. I sat on it, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, he messed up. Of course, I'm not excusing the behavior. I think it's hilarious that, we're talking about this guy should press charges on Devonta Adams. He shoved him. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, the guy didn't do himself any favors by running in front of Devonta Adams at the end of it all. Of course, again, I'm not excluding the behavior of Devonta Adams. I'm fully aware that the NFL is going to probably fine him and maybe even give him a 1-game suspension, which they should.
Because you're acting like it's a good thing that he did that, because like from yesterday, it sounded like you were against what he did.
And 100% I'm against it. 100% I'm against it. I'm just saying that I think that, I mean, he is a human being at the end of the day. Everyone else has emotions. He has apologized to the media. He's apologized to on Twitter. He's apologized in a bunch of different ways since that incident happened, saying that I'm very sorry for doing that.
But did he apologize to the cameraman himself? That's the thing.
Well, right. In that moment, he didn't apologize because he was pissed. But at that immediately when he got into the locker room and the media was about to start asking him questions, he immediately came out and said, before I answer anything, I want to apologize to the cameraman that I shoved. I don't like myself doing that. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, I was pissed. And, when you step in my way, it was one of those situations where my actions is not what I really wanted to do. I believe that. Everybody is a human. Everyone has emotions. And let's be honest, with the crapshoot that the Raiders have been this season, Chase, it's very clear to see why somebody could be very upset with what's going on. So again, I'm not saying it was a good thing or even excluding what he did. I agree he should be fined. I agree that a 1-game suspension should probably go out, because you're right. As an athlete, you have the camera on you. You have your spotlight on you. You need to be more careful. But at the end of the day, he's a freaking human being. He's upset. Somebody crossed his way when he was upset, and he just gave him a push and he fell. It's a human thing, and at the end of the day, yeah, he'll get punished by the NFL accordingly, as he should. But I just think it's we're making a lot more of it than what meets the eye. I think what this kind of shows you is the frustration building up in that locker room. Like, you brought this guy over here to make your team excel, and the Raiders have been anything but great. I mean, I think that just shows you the attitude of what is going on inside that Raiders locker room right now, is that this team is just not good. I mean, they lost Darren Waller last night, but they still were able to put up 20-something points on the Chiefs, and they still couldn't win when they were leading the game for the majority of it. And this is just another game where the Raiders had the lead and couldn't hold on to it and ended up losing. And, I mean, safe to say the Raiders are just a crapshoot right now with what they are. Did you know, Chase, I saw this number earlier. Josh McDaniels was 6-0 to start his NFL career. After that, he's been 6-21 since his first 6 games in the NFL, where he went 6-0 to start out his professional coaching career and has been 6-21 since then. I mean, this... You and I talked yesterday about coaches who might get fired after their first year of being a head coach. Josh McDaniels might be one of them.
Nah, Mark Davis has way too much invested in him, and he believes that he can get this team turned around. Now, before we move on, I do want to go back to the Devonta Adams incident. I agree with what you're saying, and they are, in the end of the day, they are human beings. They have emotions like we do and everything, like your average everyday people. But with what I was saying earlier, when you have the spotlight on you and you are in front of the camera and this is what you do for a living, and your job is required to make yourself look good, not only on the field, but in front of fans and personnel and stuff like that, to be able to make the money, to come see you, to buy the merchandise, et cetera, et cetera. You want to paint a good image in your mind and in the fans' minds, and then doing something like this, regardless of if you're angry or not, it's not a good look for you. Now, yes, I understand completely that your emotions get the best of you. Now, if any random person would have, thrown something at Devonte Adams or like hit him or came out on the field and like charged him and stuff like that for doing that, then yeah, of course, like they'd get fired from their job or whatever it may be, if they worked with the organization and or be suspended from never being allowed back. I get that. But like when you're an athlete and you have the spotlight on you and all of your money, merchandise, and everything revolves around how you act as your character, goes a long way. And the fact that he broke his character because of that, it's crazy. But I'm glad that he apologized, and I'm glad that he stepped up for his actions. Now, onto the Raiders standpoint. I think that Josh McDaniels is starting to turn this team around. Like, yes, this team was offensively one of the worst to start the year. But then yesterday was the first time I've seen Devonta Adams get involved since week one. They should have had a second win, but they blew that lead against the Arizona Cardinals. Their defense is not looking great. Their offensive line is looking atrocious, and Hunter Renfrow is non-existent. This was Derek Carr's second best weapon outside of Darren Waller last year was Hunter Renfrow, and he is non-existent. And I don't know if that's Josh McDaniels' play calling or if it's just, he's not open when he goes to do the reads. But we need to get him involved in the game if you want the Raiders to be somewhat even close to being relevant. But, not a good look for the Raiders, not a good look for this team. And, moving on, speaking of coaches that got fired, yesterday we had gotten the news that Matt Rule, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, has just been fired by Dave Tepper, the owner. After giving him a 7-year contract and being fired 3 years into that 7-year contract, what is your thoughts on this? Because to start off with, the Panthers general manager and front office personnel did not want Matt Rule, but the owner overrode the decisions that the front office and GM was making because he saw Matt Rule and what he did in college, and Dave Tepper's a businessman and jumps on the first thing that looks spicy for him and thought that this would be a good look. What is your thoughts on them and almost completely cleaning house? Because there's rumors now that they're willing to trade Brian Burns, that the Chiefs have been inquiring about DJ Moore, and
the Bills with Christian McCaffrey, apparently.
What's your thoughts on them possibly almost in a complete rebuild again, and then also firing Matt Rule?
Well, I mean, we kind of all saw this coming, right? Matt Rule and this team was just not clicking. Ever since Matt Rule got in there, this team is just not built to win right now. Well, and it's kind of weird because I disagree with that statement because I felt that this team could be built to win. The problem you have right now is you have a dysfunctional quarterback situation. Baker Mayfield has not come in and delivered anything good to you.
He
You're
played better
not
with
getting
Cleveland.
anything involved offensively. DJ Moore is not getting involved. Robbie Anderson's not getting involved. Christian McCaffrey just had his best game of the year, but yet they got blown out by San Francisco, right? And at the end of the day, you're just not winning. You're just not winning. And there's reports of him losing the locker room, like Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore very upset with how things are going. And when your key pieces are saying that they're not happy with the way things are going, then you're not going to survive very long. I mean, because that's the head coach's job, is to make sure that these guys are fed properly. It would be completely different if they were winning. Like, I'm sure it'd be completely different if they were winning games, but they're not winning games. They're losing, and they're not even losing in close games. They're losing in bad ones. And a lot of situations, they haven't won since week 1. It's one of those situations you knew that
week 3, they lost week 1.
Right. So at the end of the day, this was only a matter of time. Matt Rule he tried his best. I'm sure of it. I'm pretty positive that, he stuck up. He did stick up for his players, and, he stuck up for his system. And I think that ultimately we see a lot of this. We see a lot of this in today's system where people think that a offensive-minded coach from college, you bring them in, and all of a sudden your offense is going to look dynamic with the pieces that you have. And this was just not the case. And a lot of times this continues to happen. I was never on board when the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to bring in Urban Meyer. I said it was going to be a terrible decision, and I was proven to be right. And a lot of people had that same issue when Matt Rule came in. Now, at first, it looked like Matt Rule's system was going to look okay. The Carolina Panthers showed some great things, and they're a young team, especially defensively, and they got a lot of great pieces. It just sucks that they don't have the star quarterback that you need, and they don't have the coach right now to take advantage of those elements. We saw it last year start to come together, and then this year it just hasn't looked that way. So I fully expected this move to happen. He was the betting odds to be the number 1 coach fired the first one. So can't say I'm surprised here, Chase.
Yeah, and like you said, that Baker is playing a lot worse than what he did with Cleveland. Obviously, he played some of his best ball with Cleveland, and on the Panthers, he's just looking absolutely atrocious. I don't know if it's the offensive scheme, the play calling, what it is. Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator was not a good choice. I don't know what Matt Rule was thinking. He had a stint as an offensive play caller before, and it was terrible. Did not work out. I do not know why Matt Rule made that decision, but in the end, I think that there's only 3 college coaches that could come into the NFL right now and have the success, and that would be Ryan Day, that would be Lincoln Riley, and that would be Jim Harbaugh. And those are the only 3 that I think that are in college that could come in and have some success in the NFL and turn an organization around. But other than that, I would stay away from college coaches trying to convert themselves into the NFL. And, to be real honest, this is just one of many that I see coming. And, I'm going to go ahead and give you my list of coaches that I feel like are going to be fired by the end of the season. And judging by a lot of Chargers fans on TikTok and a lot of Chargers fans on social media, including Twitter and Instagram, a lot of them are not happy with the way that Brandon Staley is getting this team. This team is too talented to not make the playoffs. And when he came in, he just missed the playoffs last year. And with the decision that he had, Keenan Allen had some displeasure with the move that he made going forward on 4th and 2 on the Chargers 40-yard line. Because, not only did we make the stop, but we got the ball back. And luckily we missed that field goal. Otherwise, Brandon Staley would have looked really dumb. But Keenan Allen said that it would have been smarter to kick the ball down the field, have us drive the full length of the field, and with 40 seconds left and no timeouts, it would have been very difficult. But he made the bad decision to put us in the field goal range to have us try to win that game. And a lot of the players are displeased with the way that he's been handling things and the way that, he's been running this team. So I could see Brandon Staley getting fired by the end of the season. I could also see Nathaniel Hackett, if things in Denver don't start working out and that offense doesn't start taking off, because I could see that not working out. I could see, now it's his first season. They're in a rebuild. They may give him another chance. I could see Levy Smith with the Texans get fired because they originally wanted Brian Flores, but with all of the stuff that was going on with them, they didn't want to take the chance, so they didn't want to risk it. I could see the owners taking a step back and realizing, okay, we made a mistake. We want Brian Flores instead. And then, everybody's calling for Dan Campbell's head over there in Detroit. It's not that, he's doing a bad job. He's getting these guys rallied around him. He's doing good with what he has. The defense just needs to step up, and they need to get better defensive talent this offseason. So I think that he's going to get one more year. So realistically, I think that the guys that are on the hot seat is probably Brandon Staley. I would have said Mike McCarthy going into this season, but the Cowboys are looking good. I'd say Ron Rivera is on the hot seat in Washington. I could also, say maybe Levy Smith. And then I'm going to go with Todd Bowles over with the Buccaneers because, not only does he have Tom Brady and the Bucs with how good this team is, he's just not panning out as a head coach, and he's not he's making the Bucs look mediocre rather than, really good, because they're not winning games like they used to, and they're not blowing out opponents. So right now, those are 4 coaching candidates I can see. I have a couple other ones. I'm just losing my train of thought on who all may lose some people. But what's your thoughts, Derek? Who do you think's gonna? Also Frank Reich. I could see him at the end of the season losing his job as well. But
yeah, 100%. Brandon Staley, you said it. You said it that the Chargers should have lost that game against the Browns. I mean, who in their right minds thinks it's a great idea that we're on the 45-yard line, your 45-yard line, not the other side of the 45-yard line, your 45-yard line. There is a minute left to go, and it's a 4th and 2, and thinks that's a good idea to go for it there. It's never a good idea to go for that. And the fact that he thought that was a good idea is extremely concerning, because if you don't get it, which they didn't, you just gave the Browns, with no timeouts, a short field to get 15 yards to get into field goal range to win that game, because you're only up by 2. And so, needless to say, from all metrics, that was a dumb decision. It's a dumb decision. I don't care what analytics tell you. I don't care what numbers tell you. That was not a smart decision. You were on your side of the field. Punt the ball away, knock another 10 seconds off the clock to where it be only 40 seconds, force the Browns to go and win the game. Force them to go and win the game. Because your defense should have been able to handle it. Say, even if they get to the 20, 40 seconds with no timeouts, and you're telling them they need to go at least 40 yards down the field to even have a chance to kick a field goal, that sounds like a much better situation than rolling the dice and hoping that you don't end up getting it. That was just extremely dumb decision.
And real quick here,
like you said,
they did a pass play on a 4th and 2. You had Austin Eckler and Josh Kelly running the pants off of the Cleveland Browns defense, 275 yards given up on the ground. And you're telling me on a 4th and 2, you did not decide to run the ball again? If you're gonna do a 4th down play with your run game tearing up our defense all game long, you didn't decide to run the ball and you wanted to pass it. That was a dumb decision. I think he should be fired. Anyway, continue.
And Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen displayed it's bad when your players who are not even with you on the road are going out and saying, that's the decision we make. Like, that's when you know that guy does not trust you. When they openly come out on social media saying that they don't trust your play calling, that's how you know you're not doing a good job as a player, when your player, or as a coach, when your players are calling you out. That's how you know how bad it is. And we were talking about Frank Reich when we had to talk about over the span of this season, we have had players from the Colts saying that what this management and what this head coach and defensive coordinators are doing, they're not doing a good job. They're not listening to us. They're not doing what we think we should be doing. That's how you know you're not doing a good job. And with Ron Rivera, I mean, just throwing Carson Wentz under the bus yesterday. I mean, I showed you that clip. I mean,
he's not wrong, but he did a terrible job at explaining it.
He could not be. I mean, he definitely is right that when it comes to the team, that what is going on with the quarterback situation, clearly it's not going great for Carson Wentz right now. But the fact that your head coach would come out and say that just blatantly out like that is a very concerning thing that shows that he does not have confidence in you. And Ron Rivera is not void of any criticism here either. This team is in just as bad of a shape because of him as well. So, he definitely deserves it. Hackett for the Broncos definitely probably deserves it. Although you could probably say a lot of the blame is also on Russell Wilson because, we saw last Thursday, Chase, that last play of the game where Stephon Gilmore broke up that play. KJ Hamler is wide open on the right side of the field. Yep. That's a touchdown. The Broncos win that game if Russell Wilson looks to the right, but he doesn't look to the right. He looks to the left, and it's never open. So that's on Russell Wilson. And I'm starting to get to a point where it might be more on Russell Wilson than on Hackett at this moment. I know that the decision-making, he's not been great, but Russell Wilson has not looked good. You're paying this man $245 million. Like, this guy should be good, and he's not good. He's not playing good at all. He looks terrible. He looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, despite the fact that I understand their offensive line's not been good all year. But, dude, you got wide receivers. You're Russell Wilson. You should be playing better than this. And
he did also have a torn lat that's been torn since the Raiders game, so
I understand that. But then again, if it's affecting you that much, then you should be telling your coach that, hey, like, my performance is slacking because of this. Like, maybe we need to get this thing fixed. But if you can play through it, then there should be no issue with with him playing, and with that injury, he should still be playing if you're cleared to play. And you need to make those throws. And he has not looked good at all, Chase. And I mean, it's safe to say that that's going to be a very interesting one, but there's a couple of them. But I think I don't know if you've talked about it yet, but I think we need to talk about something that was very evident last year that the NFL has a huge problem with.
And that's the concussion protocol?
No, I think it's what the refs are doing because of the concussion protocol changes.
Yep.
These roughing the passer calls yesterday, one, it screwed the Falcons over. The Falcons could have won the game against Tampa, but the refs screwed them and made them, and they lost the game because of it. And then early in the game, in the Chiefs and Raiders game, there was another one that was egregious. Like, I understand that the NFL probably sent out a secret memo to all of its officials and probably said, hey, very, very closely monitor this. If it isn't even close, then throw that shit. That's probably what they said. But these officials, I've never seen a moment in time where the internet went out and absolutely roasted officials like this. There's been a lot of bad calls and missed calls at times, Chase, in the NFL's history, but never have I seen so many people go out and say, these refs are absolutely shit. Like, these guys need to lose their jobs or need to be penalized for this because they cannot just keep getting away with throwing away games like this. They threw away the game for the Falcons. The Falcons were coming back. They had a chance to win. That play would have made them a 4th down and would have gave them the ball back with 3 minutes left and could have scored a touchdown to beat the Buccaneers, where they had just scored 2 touchdowns prior on the 2 previous drives. And
because it's Tom Brady, they get away with it.
The fact that Tom Brady, who tried to kick Grady Jarrett when he got up, he tried to kick Grady Jarrett, and they threw the flag anyway. And the refs' explanation, I felt that he unnecessarily threw Tom Brady to the ground. Bro, you're capping, bro. You are capping. Did you see Cordell Patterson's Twitter?
No.
Did you see it? Okay, hold on. I need to show you this. I'm going to show you Cordell Patterson's Twitter here, because he changed it.
I will say this though, Derek. I feel like they're kind of like on edge right now because of the whole Tua situation and because of what happened with him, and that's why they're like calling more roughing the passer stuff. But like that Grady Jarrett, it's ridiculous. It just goes to show you how much the refs are in Tom Brady's pocket and how much of a baby Tom Brady really is when it comes to
he said, I'm not the one throwing the flags. Like, yeah, because you certainly didn't just beg for it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, because he certainly didn't beg for it. Yeah, right.
Well, people are like, you can't blame Tom Brady for that one. He's just playing ball. Like, he's not the one throwing the flags. I'm like, what?
Okay, so this is so he called out so many people yesterday because of these flags and Sunday. So let me show you this. This is his Twitter. So he posts this picture. This was the bull crap call, and that's his Twitter. That's his profile picture. Is this ref, the one that made the call? Cordell Patterson's going to get fined by the NFL for this because, you know, you're not allowed to criticize the refs. And
honestly, I would not pay it. I would not pay that fine. I would not pay that fine if I was Cordell Patterson, and I would take it to the league executives and be like, look, no, I am not paying this fine. This is absolute BS. I don't care if I'm making fun of the refs. I don't care if I'm criticizing their work. They need to do a better job at keeping everybody safe, and they also need to do a better job at calling a fair game because we are losing games, losing money, losing fans, losing revenue because of this crap that is going on. If I'm Grady Jarrett, or Cordero Patterson, I'm not paying this fine, and I'm going to continue to play. And if you have to, take it even further and sue the NFL for it. You know, if they make a big deal about it, but don't pay that fine. You know, keep playing, and you know, go at it because who cares if you're criticizing the refs? They need criticized.
Oh, they absolutely do. But yeah, I mean, it's in the NFL. That's where why the NFL is so weak is the fact that they have a strict policy that says any person that downgrades them or questions the judgment of the officials gets fined. And that's ridiculous. That's really stupid. Yeah, but then you saw what happened Monday with Chris Jones, where he stripped the ball and fell on top of Carr, and they called that roughing the passer. Like, these roughing the passers are so stupid.
And Carr came out and said that he hates how it's being played because he's like, if you're gonna have a play like that, he's like, he might as well just come up and like just push me to the ground or two-hand tap me at this point because he's just like, Carr said in an interview with somebody that he hates how soft it is. He's like, that's part of football. He's just like, if they put their weight on me, then so be it. Like I get sacked, I get tackled, then that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to be. But he's like, I hate how, you know, they're making me look bad as a quarterback because they're thinking I can't take a hit or thinking that it's just horrible. He's like, I understand if it's like a complete like helmet to helmet contact and it's to the head, or he's like, I understand like if I'm sliding and then they hit me, like that's a roughing the passer. But he's like, if they're going to sack me and throw me to the ground, then so be it. Let them do it. He's like, this game is too soft. And he's like, I honestly hate how it's become. And he said that himself in an interview.
Yeah, I hate it. It sucks so bad that we're at this situation where, you know, these games could potentially be decided by BS calls like this, and it needs to be fixed. I understand that the NFL is trying to make sure that these quarterbacks don't get hurt, but you're not going to change the way people play unless you make it in the rules specifically that there's certain things you just can't do. It's already handicapped as a defensive player on any hit that you make. And now you're just making it worse by saying that just rolling the quarterback with me, and that's enough to call a roughing the passer. It's just a terrible thing, man. They need to stop. This stops. Unless there is a hit to the helmet, there should not be a roughing the passer on any quarterback. I know people have been saying that the review is the issue. Like they need to review these, but no, they don't. They just need to be it where there is not a single roughing the passer call that should be made unless there is a hit to the helmet with the helmet. There shouldn't be one. There shouldn't be one. There should not be any more roughing the passers prior to that. But, I mean, when you talked about the concussion protocol, though, I mean, we saw them talk about it.
My soundboard died.
Oh, did it? Can you not hear me?
Hang on. Let me see.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I've been hearing you.
I can't hear you, Derek. Hold on.
Change your output.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you. That's the one problem I got right now. Oh, I'm going to leave and come back in.
Nah.
Say something.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you now. All right, good. But no, like what I was saying is I absolutely agree with you. There should not be a roughing the passer call unless it's going to be a helmet to helmet contact, or, you know, if they're sliding and then they get a late hit on them. That's the only time that it really should be a roughing the passer, or it's anything like super egregious. But, like, you know, they have become very soft with the way things have been, and it's very ridiculous. But yeah, I did change my output and it still didn't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have to change your output if the soundboard doesn't work.
Well, it died. Like, that was the problem. Like,
right. Yeah.
But yeah. So the last thing I wanted to end up talking about is the state of both of our teams and where we go from here. Like, obviously, we know that as a Browns fan, there's two big crucial needs that need to happen for us to be successful. One, we need to go out and sign Ndamukong Suh, like we've been talking. Like, we've talked with him. We have been in contact with him. Get him on the team, because we need defensive tackle talent now. And we need a guy that's going to plug up the middle and stop the run. And that is a guy that has stayed healthy through a majority of his career, and a guy that could still come in and produce with us. And then the second thing is, fire Joe Woods. Get somebody in there that's going to be more aggressive, going to call the plays, going to make these guys a little bit more disciplined. Yes, you can blame that on the head coach for not making the defensive players disciplined, but it also falls on the defensive coordinator for not making the right calls, making sure that their reads are good, making sure their coverages are good. And I think that's why Andrew Berry made a trade for Deion Jones to plug up the middle a little bit, but we need defensive tackle bad. And I think that that's one thing we need to address this offseason. Need to go out and either trade for a defensive tackle or trade up and get one in the draft, because this is ridiculous. We need that better. We need that more than wide receiver help right now. And we all know the state of your team. You know, I don't think to be real honest, Derek, and you could say that I'm wrong on this one if I really am, but I think Ballard's going to be gone by the end of this season. I think that it would be a perfect time for Ed Dodds to come in and take over the team and lead them to the promised land, and the state of your team, you guys just need a quarterback. It's plain and simple, and you're not going to sugarcoat it. You need a quarterback, and I think that the best possible answer for you is for you guys to trade up and get CJ Stroud. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, I would absolutely love for us to go and get CJ Stroud. This team needs its franchise quarterback, but at the end of the day, we also need to improve this freaking offensive line. That's one thing Ballard and Reich have not done this offseason, which was improve the offensive line. They thought that leaving Matt Pryor and Danny Pinter to be on the offensive line was going to be enough to make this team as good as it was, and it has not been the case. Every single offensive lineman for the Indianapolis Colts this year has been terrible, has not played up to their potential, and it's very concerning, to say the least. That's going to need to get fixed. So, I don't know. It's one of those situations. I'm just in a situation where you need to figure out your offensive line. You need to get rid of your coaching. You need to get your franchise quarterback. And at this point, I'm wondering if Ballard needs to go too. Because what's weird is that we signed a guy named Dennis Kelly this offseason that we were supposed to have for backup right tackle assistance, or for tackle assistance at all. And today the Colts just signed another guy for offensive line help, and they are expected to acclimate him to the team and move him to moving him into the 53-man spot, which is weird because Dennis Kelly, who he signed in the offseason, has been readily available and has been a potential backup for the right tackle spot all along. And yet somehow, some way, we're all asking this question right now, like, why are we not playing Dennis Kelly? Like, you signed him, but yet you're not playing him. You're going out of your way to not play him. And he's responding on Twitter now too. Like, one of our reporters, Zach Kiefer, so I'll show you this. I'll share this again. We were talking about players like not liking what coaches are doing. So they're bringing him up. This is Zach Kiefer, one of the writers at The Athletic. Says, one question though, why won't they play Dennis Kelly? And Dennis Kelly responds to it, says, I literally don't know. Like, there's no, like, again, like it's one of those again where I am so sick of this freaking regime where they just don't make sense. Why are we not playing Dennis Kelly? You brought him in here to be your backup right tackle, and you're going out of your way to make sure that he's not playing. Like, just say it. If you don't think he's ready, then say that. Say it so we know, we understand it, because everyone else is saying he is ready to play, but yet you don't seem to think so. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and the fact that I think another reason why I think Chris Ballard needs to go is what you told me. The fact that you said that he was really high on Justin Fields, wanted to trade up and get him and make the move to do so, but he did not trust a rookie quarterback and want to put in the time to have them develop. And so he decided to go with a veteran instead. It's like, isn't that what all organizations do at some point? You have to go with the rookie to see if they're going to pan out and be the future of your franchise. Because, like, some of the greatest quarterbacks in the league were rookies at some point. Like, you, at one point in time, you have to go for a rookie quarterback and gamble on him to see if he's going to pan out or not. Because if you're just going to sit there and go get washed up veterans, your team is not going to have success in the upcoming years. And I think that if Ballard's not willing to make that commitment to trade up and get somebody, then he absolutely does need to go. And you need to get somebody in there that's willing to trade up and lose a couple draft picks to go get your future.
Yeah, it's stupid too, because, you know, we said that this regime cannot be trusted with the offensive line the way it is right now, and because of their decisions made by the offensive line personnel, and the fact that you're still beating around the bush with Dennis Kelly. It's like, I don't trust them at this point with this offensive line. Like, none of them are able to give me an explanation as to why they're not playing well, why things are going the way that they are, and the decisions they're making, they just don't make any sense. Oh, yeah, and by the way, this was just posted by Bleacher Report. The photographer that was shoved by Devonte Adams last night filed a police report after going to the hospital for treatment.
Damn.
So apparently that's becoming a thing. So that just got announced. I'm gonna have to check that to see if that's like trending or something, because yeah, that's crazy if that actually did go down. But man, what else is there to mention here? So we talked about the coaches. We talked about we talked about you kind of vaguely mentioned the concussion protocol. We could talk about that, and then we'll talk about this week's games and our records and whatnot. So the concussion protocol, the NFL mentioned this, I think it was Sunday, that while the Dolphins training staff and doctors and the independent neurologists that checked Tua Tagovailoa, did not do anything wrong. They followed protocol exactly the way it was supposed to be. The NFL saying that the protocol was not followed the way that we intended. Basically meaning that they're making up, they had some make-believe rule in there that should have been followed with the protocol, even though the protocol never stated that rule. They're saying that the protocol should have included this rule, but it just didn't. But we thought people would have understood that by now. So they're covering their butts, which what they're saying now is the fact that from here on out, they said that if there is any video evidence to prove that they're walking funny, their motor skills are impaired, or their speech is fuzzy or anything of that matter, then they have to be taken out of the game for the rest of the game. Now, Chase, I mean, I'll be completely honest, I kind of like that idea, is that if you see video evidence showing a player like walking funny or sounding funny, then it's probably a good idea to keep them out of the game. What do you say about the change in the protocol?
No, I absolutely love it. I mean, it's, to keep instances like what happened with Tua from not happening, because if they did not put that in place, Nyheim Hines would have came back into the game against the Colts on Thursday night had he cleared concussion protocol, after we saw him stumble and lose his balance after getting hit like that. And if he would have cleared and came back in, there would have been a whole nother uproar saying like, the concussion protocol is BS. It's a little whack. They shouldn't be doing this. And, it would have been the same exact thing that happened with Tua happening to Nyheim. So I think it's an absolutely good thing that that did happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it should have been that from the get-go. I mean, people should have anticipated that with the Tua rule. And I mean, it definitely makes sense that they would have done what they did for that. I mean, I'm glad that they're taking that step to making sure that that is going to be something they can monitor through the rest of the season and from beyond as well. Well, let's go ahead and get into these games that happened last week. So, hate to say it, folks, but Chase took the lead back on me again. He went 11-5 this week. I went 8-8.
Oof.
I have to relook at these. So yeah, you got the win on me over the the Colts and the Broncos. I ended up getting the win on the Patriots with the Lions. But you got me with the Jets and the Dolphins one. I got you with the Bucks and the Falcons. But then you got me 3 straight games in a row to end the day on Sunday, where the Eagles barely beat the Cardinals, Cowboys beat the Rams, and the Ravens pulled it out against the Bengals. So, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the Colts game. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Did I pick the Bucks or did I pick the Falcons?
No, you picked the Falcons. I picked the Bucks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I picked the Bucks to win that game. Now, the Falcons should have won it if the NFL didn't screw them or if the referees didn't screw them.
The Cardinals should have won their game too had the kicker not missed a kick.
Yeah, I don't understand how he still has employment, but whatever. We're talking about the when we're talking about, talk to me, man, about that Patriots-Lions game, bro. Number one offense in the NFL coming into that week, and then they got put a big fat goose egg against the Patriots. What happened there, man?
I don't know. Like, that is honestly a shocking development in and of itself because, yeah, the Lions defense isn't that good, but their offensive line is a top 10 O-line in the league right now. And maybe it's because they're missing Frank Ragnow, their center. I don't know. Maybe Amon-Ra wasn't healthy or like completely. I don't freaking know. But like Goff played awful. Hawkinson played awful. Amon-Ra played awful. They all played awful and could not perform their duties to the best of their abilities. And the fact is that I've got a Patriots fan in my work group chat talking so much smack about how, they're going to shut down the Browns and everything this week and blah, blah, blah. And Alex, the guy that, has been in the chat, is like, dude, if we couldn't even put up, if we couldn't put up any points against them, I'd like to see what you guys are going to do. I'm like, here's the thing. I was like, Nick Chubb is playing out of his freaking mind. We've got a top 5 offensive line in the league. And I'm like, nobody's going to stop this man from running. I was like, he will break through the line at the speed of light and knock over 3 defenders to, get into that end zone if he needs to. So I don't know, but from the standpoint, I still think that the Lions have a good offense. I just think that, they need to be better coached in a situation like that.
Yeah, totally agree with you. It is really freaking weird.
And Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL. That's another week 5 takeaway.
Yeah, him and Barkley are just setting the freaking league on fire right now.
593 yards rushing with 7 touchdowns in 5 games. That's absolutely insane.
It is insane. Yeah. It's funny too, because the fact that the workload for Chubb and Kareem is almost 50-50. Just imagine what Nick Chubb would be doing if it was 70-30. I could just imagine the numbers increasing by 10, 20%. It's truly insane that he continues to put those numbers up all the time. And it's insane. He truly is insane.
Yeah.
But going off of the other ones, let's see here. So, yeah, you got me with the freaking Cardinals, man. Dude, I was so mad. I was so waiting in anticipation for I was waiting in anticipation for that game for me to be able to rub it in your face so hard, but it just didn't end up happening. The Cowboys and the Rams,
kick, and that's the whole reason why.
I should have listened to you with the Rams are not a good team right now. Their offensive line is terrible. They can't move the ball efficiently.
I picked Dallas.
Yes, you did pick Dallas. And I should have picked them. I thought somehow, some way that it was going to change, but it didn't. And I'm mad. The Bengals just stink offensively right now, man.
Hey, yo, Q, Nick Chubb's production may go down when Watson returns, but I honestly don't see it going down. I see it actually getting better and increasing just because when Watson comes back, that gives us a great, opportunity to use Watson's legs and his arm, and that'll open up the pass game more. And people are going to try to stop Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and like our pass game. And it'll open up the run game even more for us to make big chunk plays. So I could see it happening, but I could also see it also increasing too. So we'll have to wait and see. That won't happen until week 11 when we play the Texans. But his production might actually increase in terms of his numbers because of the pass game getting better and opening up. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, absolutely. So. Yeah, and then obviously we talked about the Chiefs game. Is there any other stories that you wanted to talk about before before we cut this out?
Before we cut this out, I want to answer AOQ's question. What do we do with Kareem Hunt? Keep him on the team. Honestly, this is the whole reason why Nick Chubb is having the production that he's having. Kareem Hunt has stated that he wants to stay with this team. He wants to finish his career out with this team. And Chubb and other players have expressed interest in cutting their salaries a little bit to keep him on the roster and make sure that he stays there. Because those two are the best running back duo in the league, in my opinion, with the way that their production is and how, impactful they are on the team. And I think that, if you have Kareem Hunt there, it gives you an opportunity to keep Chubb fresh, because you don't have to give him an entire workload and he's healthy all season long. Not to mention that you got a guy that, we use in the pass game a lot with Kareem Hunt. But Kevin Stefanski's strategy is that he does one or the other, where he runs Chubb for the first 3 quarters and then wears down the defense and then brings Hunt in for the 4th quarter and runs him for most of the 4th quarter. And then, to have somebody stay fresh. So I honestly think that they should keep Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both and let them keep doing what they're doing, because honestly, if it wasn't for them, the Browns would not be relevant and they would not be competitive and competing with the games that they are right now, because those two are keeping us in the games. Our defense is just losing us the games. That's all it is. It's plain and simple.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm glad I was actually able to get on this. I wish I would have been able to get on to the start of it, but obviously my internet just completely freaking died.
I enjoy it, man.
I don't know what happened. Like I don't think I've ever had that happen before, where I've had times where it got like disconnected, but like if I was connected to the Ethernet, like it still works, but I just wouldn't be able to get Wi-Fi. But like here, it just died. Like it wasn't even available. It wasn't even an option. I was like, dang, I don't know what it was.
I held down the fort until you got in here, man.
Yep, absolutely. And we can come back in tomorrow. We'll talk about some more things and then discuss our week 6 predictions, where hopefully I can come back and hopefully retake the lead on you.
2:00. You good with that tomorrow?
Yeah, I can do that.
Hey, yo, Q, stay tuned tomorrow at 2:00. We're going to go live again. We're also going to do our game picks for this week and see who is going to take the lead on who, see if I'm going to extend my lead over Derek or if he's going to come back. We'll have to wait and see.
I will come back. I will come back.
We'll see how that goes.
You will not take me, Chase. You will not. Last week was a downfall, but this next week, I'm bringing the big guns.
We'll wait and see. But no, come ready for any topic that you want us to discuss, man, and any questions that you have. But tune in tomorrow at 2:00. This is the Chasing Larger Sports Stories podcast with Derek and Chase signing off. See you later. Have a good day.